Hi, everybody. Hey, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast. This is Casey Jaycox. We're in season 6, which feels so fantastic to say, and we are on YouTube now, so Spotify, Apple, wherever you consume these podcasts, and the power of flexibility and was needed today. Sometimes technology likes to throw us curveballs, and usually our normal recording platform didn't work, but who cares? So we're using Zoom, and but I couldn't be more excited for our next guest because I met this gentleman. Actually, I didn't meet him. I saw him sing in Nashville at a conference I was at where I was lucky to speak. Shout out to you, Lenora Conberry. And then I got connected to a gentleman by the name of Jeff Bowling. And I didn't know that Jeff Bowling is friends with our next guest, which is Adam Hood, who is a fantastic country music singer-songwriter, everybody. We're going to make sure that you learn more about his music. He's written songs for folks like Miranda Lambert, Little Big Town, Whiskey Myers, Cody Jenks, Travis Tritt. You might have heard of those folks, but how this dude has not made it like big time, I don't know. So he's going to educate me. But as much as all that said, to learn more about Adam, the singer, we're here to learn about Adam, the dad, how he works hard to become the ultimate quarterback or leader of his household. So without further ado, Mr. Hood, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast.
Thank you for having me, Casey. I appreciate it, man. That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, man. Well, when you did some of the covers with your buddies up there, and even singing some of the other songs, I was like, oh my God, like your voice, bro, is so powerful.
Thanks,
Like
man.
so powerful. So I don't want to make you blush, and but a guy who's a closet guitar player, uh, enough to play like 5, 6 chords, and I like if I can hear the music, I can like strum and figure it out.
Yeah.
But like I don't know how to read music. That
Well,
makes
it only takes three to be a professional. Three chords will get you a job. So, so
sweet.
you're in the top upper echelon.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, enough to play like campfire stuff or like throw in and like it's fun when you play songs and people are like, damn, you can play guitar. I'm like, actually, I really am not that good, but I
Yeah,
just
right. Yeah. Oh, I lived a lot of my life doing that, man. Trust me. I know how it is for sure. Faking it till you make it.
well, before we dive into some your background, we always start out each episode gratitude. So tell me, what are you most grateful for as a dad today?
Man, I'm learning to be really appreciative of the day in itself. You know what I mean? Like the perspective is invaluable, and you kind of have to. I mean, it really is. You wake up in the morning and it's completely 100% your choice. You know what I mean? You can
Big time.
you can live your life, kind of aggravated about the things you don't have, which is a in the music industry is a it's a tough obstacle just because it's become with social media and everything. It's become a total game of comparison. You know what I mean? And I was even talking to my wife about this yesterday. You know, I have friends that are
Mhm.
really having that I've seen. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years, and so I've seen my friends have some success, and it's interesting to sort of learn how to have a genuine sort of appreciation for their successes. You know what I mean? Without and learn how to not let it apply to you because my race is not their race, and so it takes you can really let yourself get swamped, and the go-to for me is just realizing that nobody's promised tomorrow, and so if I've got today, I got a lot to be thankful for.
That's gold, dude. That speaks to me on many levels, which I want to respond to, but I love that. I think what I love about gratitude, it keeps us present in the day, and
Yeah.
it keeps us present in we all got issues, we all got flaws, we all got shenanigans, but we all have today. And if you really choose, like and I think life's about perspective, life's about mindset, life's about like just when you're not your best, own it. When you're not your best, okay, well shoot, maybe ask for help. But like for me, man, what I'm grateful for, I'm always grateful for my family, but I'm grateful for Jeff Bowling,
Hmm.
who I don't know that well. I think I'm gonna get to know him a little bit better, but just for him to say, I don't know this Jaycox guy at all, but something about him seems okay, and he came to me, referred to enough people. I'm gonna roll the dice and refer him to my buddy Adam Hood and let him. And I'm grateful for you for saying, "What you want to talk about dad stuff?" Okay, sure. So I'm great.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I'm grateful for our time together today, and um, I forgot to show you the script, which is a blank piece of paper. These episodes are all about curiosity and let me practice my listening skills, and just I love learning about people and love people's stories, because I think stories sell. I would say stories sell, slides don't, but but you said something that's so true, because social media today, I think as dads, these are great things for us to talk about. Is like, hey, we're running our kids that comparison is this life of poison and life of danger, and there's nothing good comes from it. And I can say as a speaker, because I didn't mean to get into speaking, I didn't mean to go get into this. I was a corporate guy for 20 years.
Hmm.
But I have friends that have been on TED Talks. I have friends that are like traveling all over the place. And they'll sometimes will post these things on like LinkedIn or Instagram saying, I'm in these 17 cities straight. I'm like, early I found myself like, oh my God, I want to do that. But I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that. And I remind myself,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for, I traveled my ass off, Adam, in corporate. And now I'm like, I want to travel when I can, when I want. And I value, to me, my own bed at times. And I value being with my kids. And like, I had a kid in college, junior in high school, and like valuing that. So the comparison thing speaks to me, dude, because like I could get wrapped up in that too, with like, I'm not on that stage and I'm on that stage, but I'm happy for them. Go ride it as long as you can. I hope you crush it.
It really, I don't feel like the comparison game discriminates, I mean, it really is like, I mean, everybody from a seamstress to, CEOs can, understand the comparison game, because and like I said, it's just, we're all spending a lot of our time sort of looking at other people's lives and trying to insert your own life into other people's lives and say, just give yourself some relevance. And that's the interesting thing about it. And I agree with you, like for my children, it's you, there's no need in trying to remove the inevitable. You know what I mean? Like they are, I mean, we come from a generation that remembers when these things didn't exist. So like the adjustment period has been our cross to bear. My kids won't have, they don't know life without the internet or cell phones or social media and things like that. And granted, I have I have a 26-year-old, and then I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I mean, I got a pretty vast span of fatherhood. But the girls, my younger girls, they don't really, I mean, social media is not, they don't even have phones, but at the same time, I mean, it's right around the corner, and so the I feel like it's more of a challenge to me, and I feel like it's more of my responsibility to not really show them how not to do it, but to sort of navigate through this thing and be a part of this stuff and still keep your integrity. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing. I can't. It's part of my job. Like social media is priceless to me. It's invaluable. It's how I get my music out there. It's how I promote my shows. It's probably for someone like me who's independent, completely independent, owns everything that I have. It's it's my main vehicle really to just expose myself. And so but I have to be able to learn how to do that and still be able to be me and be comfortable in my own skin. And it's not easy, and it really is. I mean, it's a daily practice. And you're right, it really takes presence. It takes,
Hmm.
I mean, like the looking forward really creates a pretty magnified anxiety, whereas the back, and I think trust me, you're not the first person that has said, why are you not more famous? You know what I mean? And I've had that question enough to where, like, I can't tell you the answer,
Yeah.
but I can't concern myself with it anymore. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I can't look at it like that. I can't look at it like that any more than I can live on my accolades. You know what I mean? Like I'm proud of my resume, but my resume is not who I am any. Like I'm only as good as the song I'm writing now. I mean, the
Hmm.
songs that I've written are past songs, and there are things that I look at even in the most popular ones that I wouldn't have written it that way now.
Yeah.
So it's always an evolution, and it really takes a lot of just, I mean, for lack of a better term, self-awareness. Really, I have to really kind of concentrate on who I am. And I have people that I trust. I have a good manager. My wife is super duper supportive, and really kind of, she has a more of a, she kind of has a marketing background, and so she understands these things and has helped me to sort of take the personal aspect off of it and treat it like a tool, like a marketing tool.
Yeah.
And that's really been helpful, because it just, it kind of becomes something to where it's like, I don't take it personally. I just take it as kind of a daily discipline. It's just something that you have to do.
Totally. Well, I want to I apologize if that question uh I hope that question came across as like just pure gratitude
Oh,
for you and
trust me. No offense taken. I promise. I
okay,
promise.
good.
It's an interesting question, and I mean, it really is one of those things to where like, you I do ask myself that question a lot, and and not from there's no ill will about it at all, because I don't think anybody that asks me that question means it has any ill intent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a real high compliment. You know?
Yeah, that's what I want that minute by. Well,
Yeah.
didn't if my memory's correct, when you were at the op where I saw you at the Opry, didn't you mention, or you or one of your colleagues or singers that night, you said a stat about like the chances of becoming a country music singer-songwriter versus a major league pitcher? Am
Yeah,
I remember?
that was okay. That was Kendall Marvel, and
Okay.
Okay, so that night, there were three of us. It was myself, Kendall Marvel, and Channing Wilson. And Channing has written. He wrote a pretty big Luke Combs song, and then some songs for some other country artists, Ashland Craft, and I think he's written with Miranda and stuff like that too. But Kendall, I mean, you heard him say the first song he ever wrote. He moved to Nashville, and the first song he ever wrote was like one of Gary Allen's biggest hits, and he just started rolling them out after that. And he's a super guy, and really down to earth, and probably like, I mean, Kendall's, I'm 49, so Kendall's about 4 years older than me, so we're kind of in the same general area, in being late 40s, early 50s, um, in a world of 20-year-olds, and having to sort of, that's the weird thing about songwriting. You have to kind of learn to think like the person that you're writing with, and sometimes that's not very easy. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And I think he said when he moved to town there were a couple of thousand published songwriters, and now there are like 250 published songwriters in
Jeez.
Nashville, in the place where songwriters exist. Like, it's a songwriters town, and there's
Hmm.
250 of them. It's a staggering statistic.
Wow. Well, I always like going inside. I'll call you from theme of quarterback. So I played quarterback in college. This is me. And you know who Uncle Rico is from Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Whenever I mention my quarterback days, I got to give love to Uncle Rico. I could throw the ball over that mountain, Adam, if you want me to. But
Yeah. I want to see that. I want you to see it throw. I want to see you throw that steak over that mountain.
well, funny about the steak. So when I speak, 'cause I'm just a random weird dude, I the third slide usually is I have a picture of my family and I'll show pictures, and then I have a picture of me playing quarterback back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if I ask people if they know who Uncle Rico is, and sometimes like who the hell is that? Well, then I go to the clip of Napoleon on the bike with Pedro,
Yeah.
and then Uncle Rico hits him with the steak, and that's like kicks off like what in the hell have we brought this dude in for?
That is so funny, dude.
Gotta have fun. So anyway, so the theme of quarterback, we're gonna call you the quarterback. Maybe your wife's a general manager, but tell us a little bit about each member of the team inside the hood huddle.
So, as far as like in the home,
Yeah, just like who's on the squad.
so there's four of us living in the hood nucleus right now. So it's me, my wife. We have two daughters. We have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. And then my oldest, she's, like I said, she's 26 and has moved out. She lives. My mother lives about 3 hours away from us, and lives on a piece of property she grew up in. And so Ashlyn lives down there with her, and kind of is a little bit more, kind of tends to my mother a little bit, and keeps her company, and has a job down there, and stuff like that. So yeah, but that's the family nucleus is the four of us, and then the one that has moved on.
Okay. And what are your girls into? What gets them out of bed, makes them excited about life?
Man, they are so interesting, and I'm an only child. So this whole sister thing, my wife has a younger sister, and so like the things that, like the fights and things like that, like those are just things that give me incredible anxiety, are things that just are common occurrence for her. Like, she grew up like this, you know what I mean? She
Right.
grew up with this whole stealing my clothes, and she's touching me and all these things, and I never grew up like that. And so but it's been interesting to have to learn to let go of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it was something to where, Brittany, for a little while, she was like, you're getting involved. You don't need to get involved. You have to figure out how to let them develop their own relationship. And that was, it was really interesting to kind of start applying that, because in letting them develop their own relationships together, it sort of gives them, it gives me, an opportunity to kind of let them develop it themselves. You know what I mean? And so Drew, my oldest, or the 8-year-old, she's the overachiever. She's the big sister. She's into cheerleading. She's a competitive cheerleader in the 2nd grade. and but she also, like, she's the one that's playing guitar now, and is really starting to, she's getting interested in those kind of things. She's a real big Dolly Parton fan, which I think is spectacular. And
Nice.
so, it's kind of starting to pick up guitar, and starting to do, that's the cool thing about, being a musician. I can remember these stages in my life. You know what I mean? I can remember when I made certain musical connections, but didn't have the ability to connect the two, And so it's fundamentals, basically. I mean, she's in that fundamental phase, that initial first year of learning how music works. And it's really challenging. It takes a lot of patience. And even though I can remember that, it's hard for me, because in my head, I just think to myself, all you got to do is do this. All you got to do is just do like this, and to her, but she can't do that. Like, her
Yeah.
muscles and her mind, the coordination's not there. And so it takes a lot of patience with me, and which is not something that I didn't learn conventionally. And so, because I didn't learn conventionally, I kind of can't teach conventionally, and which is difficult. And there's a part of me that says, okay, maybe you should let her take guitar lessons. But then you go, well, why do you want, I mean, what did you get out of guitar lessons? Not much, and so, I always knew, you leave enough instruments laying around the house, and you have children around instruments, and they're eventually going to pick them up. And so that's been kind of the deal. And it was the same thing with me. Like, my father was a forester, and my mother, she retired from a flower shop. I mean, they don't have, either one of them have a musical bone in their body. And so this was all mine to discover, and it was all mine to learn. And the one thing my parents did was they left me alone for all those hours, all those days, all those years, to just sit back in my room and learn. And then when I got out of my room and decided to start playing, they supported me. They didn't understand it any more than me, but they made sure they came to every show. And they just, if I needed a guitar, they bought it until I was making enough money to buy my own. If I needed a PA system, they bought it until I was making enough money to buy my own. And so, I'm trying to take that perspective, to not be such a helicopter parent, but just to be available and have an expert opinion, if I do say so myself, if, I mean, that's the thing. I have instruments around this house that are masterful instruments. I mean, I got some spectacular guitars that I would have killed to have had when I was their age. I mean, killed to have had them. So, which is, I think that's an advantage. I also think the other advantage to them is the fact that, like, the things that I got starstruck by are things that are kind of common. I mean, they've been backstage. They've been backstage at Miranda Lambert shows. They've been backstage, I mean, everywhere. The stage is not a terrifying place to them. And that's good, because it was a terrifying place to me for a long time.
How about your youngest? What does she like to do?
She's the free spirit, man. And she's the one with glasses and curly hair. And, I mean, she really has her attitude is genuinely positive. Like, you can see pictures of her. She never takes a picture without a genuine smile on her face. She's funny. She's really intelligent, but she's one of those kids that, like, yeah, so what? You know what I mean? Like, okay, that's the answer. Who cares? You know what I mean? She's going to be one of those kids that doesn't have to study. You know what I mean? And as much as you love those kids, everybody's like, you're kind of jealous of those kids. It's like, oh God, you don't even have to work at this. But because of that, she's a bit of a chameleon. She's really into anything and everything. She loves her dolls. She loves music too, but, like, she's not gonna be the kid that practices, but she's gonna be the kid that picks it up and learns it quicker than her sister does. So same thing, like, even they've been through this whole learning to read thing in the past 3 years. And the younger one reads way better than the older one, because she listened when we were learning the reading part with the older one. You know what I mean? So it's a bit of an unfair advantage.
Mm. Now, does your wife, is she into music?
No, she's not in music, but she has an appreciation for it. And like I said, she has a pretty significant awareness of how business operates. And so she can be the more analytical one and the more business minded one, and that kind of frees me up to be the more creative one. You know what I mean? Like I can stay creative.
Mm.
And that's something that I feel like has really become a gray area in the music world, because with things being everything music resource is at the disposal of any artist that wants it. If you want to write your own songs, you can, and if you want to record your own songs, you can do it on your phone. And then like these DSP, Spotify, iTunes, and stuff, like it's a very simple process to just take those songs that you record on your phone and put them out there. And I mean, like that's out there to the world. Like, when I was getting started, you had to go find a dude that had a recording studio. And trust me, in Opelika, Alabama, those studios sucked, man. I mean, they sucked. And so, I mean, you go in there and you give that dude $200 and you come out and you're like, this sounds like crap, but I've got to put it out. I don't have a choice. And so then you have to find someone that can make a master copy of a CD. Then you have to learn how to like do the CD duplicators and stamp your name on it and all that stuff. And like, they don't have to do that anymore. Again, like I said, it's all at your fingertips.
Mm.
But in doing that, that's a freedom, but it's also, again, it's a responsibility. And so you have to learn how to navigate through the nuts and bolts of that. You have to learn how to sort of figure, it just in the same way the creation of it is that way. The marketing of it is at your fingertips too. And the, trying to find a way to make yourself stand out and be a little bit different from everyone else. That's at your fingertips too. And that's not something that creative people have naturally. And so you see a lot more people that are more business minded and then less creative. And then the people that are more creative sort of have to really struggle a little bit harder. You know what I mean? They have to work a little bit harder just because of the fact that it just doesn't come easy for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's that.
What was life like growing up for you? And talk about the impact mom and dad had on you.
Man, I had a good childhood. And again, like I said, I was an only child, and so I learned to play by myself, and by playing by myself, it really stimulated my imagination. I was a very imaginative kid. I did a lot of stuff. My mom always talks about, one year my grandmother gave me like a roll of aluminum foil and like some scotch tape and stuff like that, because I would make guitars, you know what I mean? Just because, I see Bruce Springsteen videos on TV and stuff, and I'd see like Stevie Van Zant's zebra stripe guitar, and I thought, oh wow, that thing's cool. And so I'd try to make this version of it out of cardboard and stuff, and my parents got so sick of it that they finally just bought me one. And so I took a few lessons, and when I was in 7th grade, we moved into a new house, and the guy that lived behind me had a guitar too. And so we both took lessons from the same guy. I would take lessons on this was summer going into 7th grade. I would take lessons on Monday and he would take lessons on Tuesday. And we would kind of we would get together and show each other what we learned from, the guy that was teaching us, giving us lessons. And so we both kind of got real good real fast. And, like I said, I found that pretty quick. I started, if I started playing consistently and learning songs, like from start to finish, learning songs in 7th grade, like by 10th grade, I think I had a job. There was a place called the Breezeway in my hometown. And I mean, I was 16 playing one Friday and Saturday night a month. And wow. I mean, they gave me $150 and I quit the football team, and so Opelika is right next to Auburn, which is a college town. And so, okay. About 6 months of playing the Breezeway, you would just get these offers to play these, fraternity parties and sorority socials and things like that. You know what I mean? I would go in there and play Vince Gill songs and Jimmy Buffett songs, and they'd pay me, like, you know what I mean? And so I was off to the races after that. So I mean, music was 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 the nucleus behind what I did for the majority of my life. You know.
What were the values mom and dad taught you that now you'll use raising your girls?
Good question. Um, my dad was one of those people that really kind of uh, helped me understand the value of humility, you know,
Love it.
and sort of, you know, it's better to just know how to do it and not have to say it. You know what I mean? And so
Yep.
if you can do it, you don't have to tell everybody you know how to do it. Just get out there and do it, you know. And and man, you know, they were loving and they were supportive, you know, and they did their best. And you could, I mean, like I said, you know, man, these were, you know, my mom and dad, they didn't have college educations. They just, you know, they got married and they had a kid, and then they're just like, well, you know, let's try not to screw this up for him, you know. And so I mean, and that's the thing that I realized that just, you know, when your children have an understanding that you love them unconditionally and can support them in anything that they do, and you know what I mean, like just
Totally.
give them enough room to kind of trip up a little bit, but keep them safe, you know. And I mean, that's about the best that you can do, you know. But that really, man, I heard this guy talking about it, and I wish I could remember his name, because I bet you've heard him talk about it. He said that his dad would wake him up every day and just say, you know, you're the best, you know. And so I've just tried to, you know, I thought that's a really, you know, that's a really interesting thing to just adopt, just to say, man, you're the smartest kid in the first grade, you know. I mean,
Speak truth into them.
who cares? Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter if they are or if they aren't, as long as they think they are. If they think, if there's, because that's the one thing with me, and you know, and this is the thing with my parents, that if there was a, if there was a difficulty for them, um, that learning that humility sort of, it kept me from having a confidence. You know what I mean? And they didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know. My parents have never set foot on a stage. They have no idea. And so I kind of had to learn that on my own.
Mhm.
And it took a lot of years of kind of messing up. And I went through a couple of decades of just kind of drinking my way through it and things like that, you know. And then, you know, sobriety's been a big help. But even now, you know, just a confidence is something that, you know, will really make or break you, you know. And that's the one thing that I want for my daughters, the thing that I really still struggle with, and the thing that I've had to learn on my own, that I hope that they just will always have, is confidence, you know. I just the confidence to know that if they don't succeed, that they're still valuable, and if they do succeed, then they earned it, you know.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned humility. So there's I'd say three core pillars that drive me, Adam, which is humility, vulnerability, and curiosity. I think they're
Yeah.
like superpowers. I think many people leave these skills dormant. I work on them all the time. I'm not, I wish I would say I'm really good at those. I'm far from it. But
Right.
those are like constant things I think about. And your dad, when you said what your dad said, it triggered me with my, gonna go Uncle Rico here again, everybody. Sorry about that. But my college coach, the guy named Bo Baldwin said, who's now he coaches up in Canada in the CFL. He said, if you ever have to tell me how good you are, Casey, you're not that good. But when you're great, I'll tell you. You know, and I think that mindset always
Yeah.
stuck to me. And then my high school football coach, kind of Marty Osborne, I went through a really bad injury in high school that kind of prevented me from going like higher Division 1 or Division 1 AA. And I was ended up being a D2 guy. One of the best things that ever happened to me. And that feeling of it got taken away from me really quick. I had an injury that I had to watch another guy succeed, do all the things I was supposed to do, and it taught me about maybe there are people better than you out there. And so just that mindset of it can be gone, but vulnerable enough to ask questions,
Mm.
and curious and vulnerable enough to say I don't know, but curious enough to always keep asking questions. And so when I think about confidence, there's a sign behind me for people who can see on YouTube. It's believe, which
Yeah.
is and I got asked this at age 41. We're about the same age, and I had a guy said, "Do you believe what you do matters?" And I never really had someone ask me that before, but made me think. I was like, "Well, it kind of." He's like, "No, do you really believe?" So that's kind of like part of my thing now. When I go speak to people, I try to instill belief in them, no matter if you're a guitar player, a janitor, a bus driver. Like in theory, our male ego says, "Man, I kid, man, he really thinks I'm the shit. I wrote a book, and and I got a podcast, and my kids, they don't listen to these things.
Right.
They don't read the book. I mean, your kids, maybe they know your music. They probably do, but they're not like listening to your songs every single day. But it's like
Right.
we as our dads, sometimes we get so wrapped up in those things. But what your parents did, I think is so cool is they let you live your journey.
Yeah.
They're not singers, they're not songwriters. Your dad was a forester and your mom worked in a florist shop.
Right.
And I think I've done so many episodes with dads where we literally have talked about it's not our journey. Stop trying to put your goals on them. And if they don't want to work hard and they're going to get cut from the team, let them get cut.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. But I mean, everybody in this day and age, we think our kid's going to be on The Voice or they're going to be on the Division I lacrosse team. And not everybody's going to do that.
Right. It's funny you say that because we see it a lot with us. My wife and I see it in the little things. You know what I mean? Because like it's little things like grades and stuff like that. Because and our default is always like well we there's a certain expectation. Why is that? And and our kids are allowed to not understand things. And we have to really I mean, I think it's something that my wife and I have started to learn how to make conscious effort about is to say, okay, we'll help them with their homework and we'll help them learn these things. But at the end of the day, like we can't take the tests for them. We can't.
No.
They have to be the ones that learn how to read. And so if that's the thing, they have to be the ones to learn how to read. They have to be the ones to learn how to navigate heartbreak. They have to be the ones to learn how to navigate positive and negative friendships so that they can figure out how relationships work. That's priceless, man. And like I said, my parents did it, but they did not do it because that was the plan. They did it because they didn't know how to do anything else. They just kind of they couldn't. I mean, I was unfigure outable, and so they
Yeah.
just kind of said, well, we're just gonna have to let him go and see, just make sure that he doesn't hurt himself. And that was the good thing about it. When I made bad decisions, my dad was really quick to say, okay, this is a terrible decision here, and he was an over explainer. You know what I mean? He was one of those people that would really sit down and just run his mouth for hours about this is why you don't need to do this. You know, tell me where your mind is so that I can kind of understand what on earth you think, what you're thinking that makes this a good decision to you. And that was really kind of nerve wracking, but also kind of it's something that I've adopted for better or worse. You know what I mean? Because I saw in this. I can't remember what book it was, but it was a parenting book, and that was one of the first things that they said. They said, don't over explain it to your kids. You just set the rule. Make sure that it's not set out of any kind of emotion. It's
Yep.
just this is a rule, this is a regulation, this is what you do. It needs no explaining. Because the explanation and the understanding of it's really up to them. You know, and I realized this the hard way too with all my kids. The more you try to explain it to them, the less they really get it anyway.
Right.
So why bother? You know what I mean? Like why try to because and also the same way. The more I try to make them understand, the less they want to understand it. You
Yep.
know?
Well, I think the thing I've learned, so have you heard about the like Socratic method of leadership about the power of asking questions?
Mm-mm.
So I think like so COVID, that shenanigans we all went through, like one of the best things for me about COVID was it made me realize I was doing way too much for my kids.
Yeah. Interesting.
And we had so much time in our hands. I'm like, why the hell am I making breakfast all the time? Freaking, why don't you make me eggs? Why don't you make me pink? Like, and then all of a sudden we created short order cooks. It was awesome.
Hmm.
And I read
Cool.
a book called so I had a guy on my podcast by the name of Swen Nader,
Hmm.
who he played in the NBA for years. He wrote a book called You Have Not Taught Until They Have Learned, which it taught me a lot about like, dude, stop doing stuff for your kids.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna keep them in this like and I think a lot of that was happened because unfortunately my son he had some unexplained seizures when he was young. He had
Hmm.
some kind of scary ER trips. So I think that kind of turned us into ultra protective mode.
Yeah. Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Understandable.
exactly, right or wrong, but then we had to kind of like rewire ourselves. And so going through that, Swen, it just made me realize like if to your point, like if we keep telling our kids, hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, they're going to resist us. They're going to hear us, not listen to us. But I think if we ask questions and create space for silence and just awkwardly stare at them and help build their critical thinking skills, then our job actually becomes easier. It's counterintuitive to most parents these days. Where we try to like fix and get ahead of it. And I think there's a new phrase I've heard called the snowplow parent, where you're getting ahead of everything, which I mean, no one wants the drama. No one wants
Right.
the ER trips, but sometimes you got to go through that stuff.
To learn your lessons, for
Right.
them to realize you can't do that again, or just anything. And you're right. I realized that because, my oldest and I, we have, like the 30 minutes before bedtime is really kind of that's when I learn everything. You know what I mean? Like that's for some strange reason. And I'm sure it's just her, trying not to go to sleep, but that's when she really kind of starts divulging all the things that happen in the day and what she learns and what she's taken away and stuff. And those are the moments that, like, I could really be forcing her to get in bed, but I it's just as valuable for me to kind of I that's how I get to know her. Number one, that's how I get to see what she's struggling with. That's how I get to see what her likes and dislikes are. And it's also like, those are the times when she's the most articulate. Those are the times when she really kind of when communication becomes easy to her. And man, it's hard when you're a kid to talk to grown-ups. It's hard to talk to grown-ups now. I mean,
Yeah.
a conversation is, especially when it's like small talk, it is very difficult. And I stumble through it a lot, a lot. And and everybody's socially awkward. And when I'm socially awkward and everybody else is, it's just really weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the more you kind of get used to those kind of things, and you don't want to, it's you can just accept that kind of stuff and just say, well, okay, this is a weird awkward conversation, but it's okay. I mean, I can understand what she's saying and where she's coming from. She can understand what I'm saying, and at least she knows, like, there these are moments when I'm listening. And you're
Yeah.
right, man. It's so important to listen to your kids, because that's another one of those things in their arsenal that creates the confidence. If you listen to them, then it allows them to have a voice, and
Yeah.
that voice is, they really will, they'll carry that stuff with them.
Well, shameless plug here. So when I left corporate, I wrote a book called Win the Relationship, Not the Deal. And chapter
Mm,
3 is about the difference between hearing and listening.
yeah.
We hear so many things. And a lot of times it's funny. I'm like become almost obsessed with like how people ask questions and how people communicate. Just in the journey I've had, even now as a podcaster, which is just like a fun project that's still like fun. I get free therapy out of every episode. But
Yeah, me too.
when people ask questions, watch how many people, Adam, will ask like 2 or 3 questions in one.
Hmm.
Like, for example, like, hey, how's life? How's the family? And what have you been up to? And well, Jesus, which one do you want me to answer? And then
Yeah,
most
right. Yeah.
people answer the last one and they forget the other 2 questions they had. And now they're thinking about, I want to talk about this, versus most people don't say, they ask one question, shut the F up, and then say, wow, tell me more about that.
Yeah, right.
Or describe why you feel that way. Tell me what would happen if that went away. And don't ever talk about themselves. And so like what I do for my kids, I try to like just remind them that, and this is again back to the vulnerability, remind them often where I suck,
Hmm.
either in my current life or as a kid. When I got fired from a job, when I made a bad decision, when I did this or did that. I feel like when we as dads can do that, and I work on it often, it removes the fear and kind of helps the confidence go up. Because like with when fear is present, then our ego gets in the way, bad habits get involved, and we're afraid to be our best version of ourselves. But if we believe what we do matters, it's kind of like, oh, I have a great guitar story for you. You might appreciate this.
Oh, great.
So, sorry to ramble, but I just thought of
Oh,
it.
I love it.
Okay. So again, I can play like 5 chords. I can play like, I can play most songs to my version of it, not like the real version, like Wagon
Uh-huh.
Wheel. I can play it, but Darius be like, "You ain't playing like that. Come on,
Right,
bro."
right. Right.
But so we go to the East Coast and every summer, and this place called Cutty Hunk Island, magical place. And
Hmm.
uh, my friend's daughter struggled with confidence in like 8th grade, and then she
Hmm.
picked up guitar, started playing a little bit, and one night we're on their deck, and maybe there's a few soda pops around the campfire a little bit, and I said, "Hey, Anna, let's go play guitar." She's like, "No, I'm not going to play." I'm like, "Why not? You play." I'm like, "So do I. I'm not that good." And she's like, "I know, but I don't want to play. I don't want to mess up." I go, "How many people out there play guitar?" She's like, "I don't know." I go, "None. Me and you." So if you mess
Yeah.
up, who's going to know that you mess up? Me, but I won't, I'm not going to tell them.
Right.
And so we get out there and I go, now listen, you got a way better song voice than I do, but you play one and I'll sing and I'll embarrass myself first. She's like, and I finally, come on, just go. I go, we get them come out, and then we went out there. Everyone's like so excited. I go, hey everybody, I'm gonna sing, and next, just by me going first, being, I think that's leadership. Like you go first, be the vulnerability of that. All of a sudden, she starts loosening up. We played
Mhm.
for 2 hours that night,
That's awesome.
and she's like really good, and her friend. And then all of a sudden, two friends like with voices I didn't even have. They're singing. They're doing like Fleetwood Mac. They're doing crazy. I'm like, and then my buddy comes up to me. He's like, "Dude, you're like the Ted Lasso of Cuddy Hunk. What just happened?" But like to the power of like that's what like as dad, like that's like my ever goal is how do you unleash that in a kid to do what kind of what your parents did, like they got you the PA, they got you the guitar, they supported you, and then and I think it's I don't know, I don't know if that story resonates with what you're kind of been through, but I wanted
Oh
to share.
man, 100%. I mean, and that's the thing. You're basically just kind of helping them ease into a platform. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
because if you can make it comfortable for them, they'll go with you, and if they go with you, they'll surpass you pretty quickly. And that's all I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's really all I want. I just and no matter what it is, and I don't again, I have had no expectations for my children when it comes to music. However, music is a very vital part of our life, and it's also music is a really interesting language. It's a universal language. It's a spiritual language. It's really kind of the only form of spiritual communication that we have. And
Mm.
but it's a very important one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
music emotes. It creates emotion that you couldn't that just doesn't exist any other way. And so, it's really important. That's why it's also kind of scary. You know what I mean? That's why, you sort of that's why you feel this vulnerability, and which, and rightfully so. But at the same time, if you can harness that vulnerability, and it's easier to do it with your children, it's easier to do it with your friends, it's easier to do it. Like, it's easier for me to do it. I don't get nearly as nervous when I'm playing band shows, and go back to what you're saying about, making mistakes and stuff like that. I mean, I have three guys. It's me. I play the guitar, and then I have a guitar player, bass, and drums. Every night after we get off stage, we always have great shows. And I mean, and honestly, I mean, we can, and I told a buddy of mine this yesterday. We can kick ass in front of nobody. And so if we can kick ass in front of nobody, we can kick ass in front of anybody,
Love
and
that.
and so that's kind of how we kind of approach this. We say, well, there's four people out there. So
Mm.
what? At least we get to play, and we like playing together, and these songs are cool, and we have fun doing it. So, that's the thing. But we all are guilty of walking off stage and going, man, I really screwed that part up. And every time the drummer says, oh man, I just blew through that part, I think to myself, I never noticed it. And that's if I say, oh gosh, I blew that note. Like, I'm sorry, I missed that chorus. They I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, there's just it's and so if the four of us who are like-minded, and again, you're talking about, I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years, and so, I mean, if me and the other guys that I'm with, we have this level of experience, and we can go up there and explain our mistakes to each other, and we go, well, I didn't ever notice that. The audience is completely unaware of these kind of things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They don't know. They don't
No.
even care. If it stops in the same place and starts in the same place, and you don't act like a fool in the middle of it, then you've succeeded. And so, just kind of coming to an understanding about that is really liberating. You know what I mean? It's really one of those things to where you kind of can. That's when you learn to let yourself go, and that's kind of on stage. Like, that's our job. I realize that more and more now, that, like, man, these people are here to feel good. And so am I, honestly. I mean, hey, thanks
Right.
for coming, but, like, man, I'm trying to get life off my chest too, you know.
Yeah.
And so let's do this together. And it's priceless, man. It's priceless.
I want to make sure I heard that quote right. We can kick ass in front of nobody, but then we can kick ass in front of everybody.
Yeah, if we can kick ass in front of nobody, we can kick ass in front of anybody. Yeah.
That is that should be a t-shirt, a bumper sticker, a tattoo. I
Deal.
mean, I mean, that is why that's gold. It speaks to me in many levels, brother, because so I teach the power of practice to sales
Mhm.
teams and people in business, because people, when they get in the business world, they wing it. But like as an athlete, I had to go to practice in college. I couldn't just tell my coach, hey, do you mind if I just show up on Saturdays and give it a go? I mean, he'd be like, no, bro, get out of here. Yet in like sales teams, we show up and we practice on the client, which I'm like, man, I
Right.
should be told the customer that we're actually going to wing it and practice on them. How would they feel? They'd be like, what? No. But by practicing in front of ourselves or our team, and if you can get good at practicing in front of yourself, like, and that does, I'm gonna take that. I'll give you love or give your team love, but like that is such a good mantra that I think, I don't know if you've shared that with your kids, but like I'm gonna share that with my kids tonight.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. I mean, it's valuable, and it kind of goes back to the same thing. Like, you can practice all you want to, but there's no there's no other way to get better than doing it on game day, man. Because
yeah,
that's when the pressure's on, and like I've seen that a million times, and I did it really kind of in my more formative years as a songwriter. I used to, I have an apartment in Nashville. I go up there a lot. But my first publishing deal, I mean, God, I wrote a lot of songs. And so, what I would do was this was before I got married. So I had this standing gig every Thursday night at this place in my hometown. And I would go up to Nashville. I would write Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. And then Thursday night, I would go home, and play every song that I wrote that week in front of people. And you watch how they react, and you can see not just like that song sucked. Like I got to the point where I could see the parts of the song that were responded to. You know what I mean? Like I could, if the second verse was the thing that turned ahead,
mm,
then keep the second verse. But if you lost them in the chorus, then you might ought to go back and change that chorus. You know what I mean? And
mm,
that's the thing. You can think to yourself that a song is great all you want to, but until you play it for somebody, there's no way to know. There's just no way
yeah,
to know. And there and in a way, like they all are going to suck to somebody and they're all going to be
right,
great to others. Art
yep,
is completely subjective, and life is too. I mean, and that's the cool thing about it. Like, and so that's why, I get a lot of messages. In fact, I mean, I've got people right now that have said, "Hey, what do you think about this song?" And I really do my best to give it a listen and find the things that I like about it, and not necessarily find the things that I don't like about it, because who am I? Who am I to like it or don't like it?
yeah,
It's, and so I say, okay, well, structurally, here's what makes sense. Okay, you nailed it on this part. This gets a little out of, like, you kind of lost me in the storyline here. And so I kind of explained sort of a mechanical explanation of why, where the song works and where it doesn't. And then the next thing I ask is like, well, what do you think? Do you like
love
it?
it.
If you like it, it doesn't matter what I think. You know what I mean? But that's really the thing that, man, honestly, the only thing that people, come to me about that kind of stuff is they just want me to say, man, this is a good song, you know? And they're all good songs. If you can start one and finish it, you created a song. And if you created a song, you created a good one, you know?
It'll speak to somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the person that you really wanted to speak to more than anything is you,
Yeah,
because it's really it's a spectacular form of expression. I can
yeah.
say things in songs that I could never say out loud, and
Mm.
because
What
you
might be an
allow
example?
uh
You think of something?
I mean, oh, good question. Kind of anything. Um there's okay, this is a good so I have this song on my Bad Days Better record. Well, let's go with Bad Days Better. There's I mean, that song in itself is strictly a practice in positive thinking. And so, I mean, it's, like the courses, I'm a man on a mission. I'm the only one I can change, because this mean old world ain't always going to stay the same. So
Mm,
even in the bad times, the sun's going to shine on me. So I'm going to make the bad days better than the good days used to be. you know? And so like, that's the song that like when we start out with different songs in our band show, that's a pretty acoustically driven song. It was meant to be an opening song for acoustic shows. And so therefore I opened my acoustic sets with that. But I also, I kind of, it's how you learn to practice what you preach, and you also kind of learn to make those things, it becomes your subconscious. It's the repetition of,
Yep.
of the saying those things. And that's kind of what I learned. I learned that like, this is, this is an easy way to be repetitive about things that I'm trying to change in my life. And so use this as an opportunity to do so. And at the time when I wrote that song, I was a pretty dramatically negative thinker. Everything was a worst case scenario. I was always looking over my shoulder, waiting on the bad thing that was right around the corner from the good thing. Always, always. And it really created an anxiety and just this sort of just unhappiness. It was just an unhappiness. And still,
Yeah.
I sort of, happiness is a very difficult thing to sort of abide, like everyone strives to be that way, but it's not really trying to be that way. It's trying to allow yourself to be that way, because you have, just like, goes back to what we started with, like, man, you got plenty to be happy about. If you stood
Totally.
up this morning and you breathed this morning, you got a whole lot of stuff to be happy about. And
Big
so,
time.
in doing that, you know, I had this opportunity to sort of let these lyrics be the voice that speaks to my subconscious and teaches me how to live like a more positive person. And so, that's kind of that's why I don't write about beer drinking songs, because they don't, I don't get anything from it, and I mean, maybe some people do, and that's fine. But like, I got some important things I need to be doing right now. And this is the best way for me to do it. I got some mindsets I need to be changing in my life. And I want to learn how to do it this way, and that's the best way for me to do it.
Can I share something with you that's helped me?
Sure.
So when I left corporate, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I wrote a book, started this podcast really for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, I can't believe I'm still doing this thing. It still blows me away. And
Six seasons, pretty impressive, man.
it doesn't really, and I never once, Adam, meant to have it drive like speaking opportunities or coaching opportunities. And that was never the goal. The goal was, hey, how can I talk to dads and help just create better dads out there? And I'm going to get some free therapy out of it. So we did this.
That's
And so,
great.
and next thing you know, like kind of I met some people, and I met a company, shout out to Limitless Minds, a guy named, short little quarterback, guy named Russell Wilson, his brother, Harry Wilson, who I became friends with, and a guy named DJ Eidson. And there was so then Russell's mindset coach was a guy named Trevor Moat, who unfortunately passed away.
Mm.
And so in this journey, when I met I worked them for about a year, before it kind of like just timing was, maybe just, we all kind of like just kind of went our separate ways, but still, wish those guys the best, great terms. But I learned about a couple of things. I learned about the number of thoughts we have a day as humans,
Mm.
which there's different science that says it, but science says we have close to like 80 to 90,000 thoughts a day.
Wow.
And of those thoughts, any idea what percent are negative? Want to take a guess?
I mean, an overwhelming majority, I would say.
75 to 85%.
Yeah, I figured I would say 80. Yeah.
So the story we keep telling ourselves is just a story.
Yeah.
And so how I try to help myself, I like visualization stories. And so like when I work with teams or like my kids, I say, imagine that negative thought comes into our head. Okay, think about it now. And all of a sudden, imagine you and I are on a bridge and we're going across from one island to another. And on that bridge, all of a sudden it's like dead stop traffic. Now, I would tell people, now if the bridge operator comes on the microphone, which imagine there was that one, and he or she says, all right, everybody, we're going to be stopped for like 5 seconds. No worry. We'll be going before we know it. Okay. So like, what's the chances that in 5 seconds, you're going to roll the window down and talk to the person next to you? Probably low, right? Why would
Slim
I
to
do
none. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I got 5 seconds to do that. I go, so imagine that person next to you in that car is that negative thought.
Hmm.
Extend your middle finger and say, F off, bro. I ain't talking to you. Because it does nothing good for us. So, and then I learned this 4-minute meditation. So I've tried to meditate. Sometimes I'm like, am I doing it?
Yeah.
Am I doing the meditation? I didn't know.
Right.
But this I could get down with, and this helped me a lot during COVID. And I actually shared it with my son's really best friends who was going through some confidence things with a sport, and he's like, dude, it worked. I'm like, I know. I don't know why it works, but it works. And so it's literally, you take 4 minutes, and I learned this from a guy named Colin Henderson. Shout out Hen. And you literally take your phone for a minute, for 4 minutes. You set a timer. And this the
Mm.
first minute, you're just going to breathe. Yeah, I'm just taking deep breaths. Second minute, and these are things I'm going to say out loud. Second minute, I'm going to say, I have statements, things you have. I have a great guitar. I have 3 great girls. I have an amazing wife. Um, I got a great t-shirt. I have my health. Whatever you're saying, you're going to say something. Boom, timer goes off. You're going to reset it. The third minute is I am statements. And I like to attack my negatives that I know are not my best versions of me. I am patient.
Mm.
I am present. I am organized. All the things that you think maybe you aren't, reverse it. And then the last minute is I will put it into action. I will be present. I will be positive. I will connect with people. I will have patience, all these things. And I don't know why it works, Adam, but when I get done doing it, it's almost like I went to the gas station and they put gas in my body. And all of a sudden I feel just different. So give it a
That
try.
is spectacular, man. That is spectacular, because that's the thing. And and you read it in so many books, you read it in, or you hear it in so many podcasts, so many editorials. It is all mindset, and it is just, I mean, the most, think about it, like the most difficult human problems that we all have are 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 solved that simply. It
Yeah.
really is just as simple as that. It is just as easy to say I love you as it is to say I hate you. It just takes
Yeah.
it takes initiative, just it just takes that. It takes the
Yeah.
want to be able to say, just you have to want to say it. And just sometimes you have to say it whether you want to or not. But if
Yep.
it's interesting, like when you can sort of discipline yourself, and that's why it's a discipline. You can discipline yourself to do things you don't want to. You
Yep.
kind of learn how to want them pretty quickly, and it's other than that, it's all habit, and it's just it's so ironic to me that it really is like that, to think about how difficult the human condition is, and all the things we go through, and everything that's happening in our world just constantly. And current events have always been current events, man. The stuff that happened in the 60s happened in the 70s, happened in the 80s, 90s, and now. I mean,
Yep.
it's all, everybody has always been afraid of stuff. It's always been this, that, and the other, but it's just as simple as a mindset.
Yeah.
It's simple as you taking the responsibility in your own self to change your own way of thought, to say, this is what I want this, therefore I'm going to think this, therefore I'm going to be this. And
Yeah.
I've never, it's just like, like people, I'm pretty religious guy, and I love this stuff, that, like, I've never met or never heard of a person that had a testimony that said, everyone that said, I was a skeptic and I started reading the Bible to debunk it. They're all ministers, 100% of them, every one of them.
Mm.
They go into this and they say, I'm going to, okay, fine. Let's see if this is real. And it becomes, those are the people they are the ones that make it real for others. You know what I mean? And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with your mind, with your soul and stuff like that. It's all you are responsible for this stuff. It's fascinating to me, but it's
It
the
is.
most difficult thing in the world to do. The easiest thing is the hardest thing to do. So weird. Humans, this is
We're
weird. This
flawed,
stuff's
brother.
weird.
We're all flawed. But I tell my kids this, like I say, imagine this is a muscle, but it's the most untapped muscle in the body we don't ever work on.
Yeah,
And so why don't we like to exercise, but why don't we work on our brain, our mind, or
yeah,
how we should? And like when we do that, that's why I think emotional intelligence is such an it's becoming more of a sought after skill versus, I think I take EQ over IQ any day.
yeah. I
And
agree. And it's nice. It is nice to live in a day and age that, like, I'm sure you can vouch for the fact that our parents, and I don't think they were I don't think they were, intentionally ignorant of it, but, like, it's just, it's not, it wasn't the reality for them that it is for us. And we're
yeah,
pretty fortunate to at least, be able to say, okay, this is important. Your mind is really where the whole thing operates.
what I am excited about though, that there are like in today's age, I feel like there's some kids getting back into the trades. And I joke with like my son and his buddies. I'm like, we don't need any more people who can talk and type for a living. We need
Yeah.
people who can fix some shit. Like
Yeah.
I don't, I am, My buddies give me such a hard time. My wife makes fun of me. I just that's my I wish I could fix stuff. Not my jam.
Yeah, I know. Me too. My wife is more the man of the house than I am, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, we got that in
She's
common.
Mr. Fix It. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
totally.
as we wrap up here, if you had to summarize, we talked about a lot. We talked about some dad stuff, talked music, I mean, mindset. But if you had to like kind of summarize, call it 2 or 3 actionable themes that dads can take from our episode or conversation today to say, man, I learned this, this, and this from Adam and Casey, and I'm gonna use this to apply my own life to be a better quarterback or leader in my home. Tell me what comes to mind.
I think that probably two. I think it would be our first one and our last one. The fact that like that every single day there is more to be thankful for than there is to not.
Mm,
Every day you have more. There's more stuff than you realize to be thankful for. And the other one is the fact that happiness is or not necessarily happiness, but your entire existence, like your life in general, is all it's all dependent on how you choose to navigate your thoughts and how you choose to control your thoughts. The only thing that you can control.
yep. Yeah, I mean, just like you said, you get to say, I hate you, but I love you. I mean, forgiveness takes one. There's reconciliation takes two.
Yeah.
But when I forgive, it gets that negative energy out of my body, and I actually feel better. Now I don't have to spend time with that person, and I think once you kind of give yourself grace and understanding that I'm not going to be best friends with every human on earth, that's not going
Right.
to happen. And surround yourself with people that make you better. I think make you uncomfortable in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
wow, that person, I want to be. I want to be like her. I want to be like him. I wonder how they did it. Go ask them questions.
Yeah.
Compliment that person. Um. Okay. I want to make sure, and if there's a way I can figure out how to do it, I would love to like play a song in the beginning of this episode and play a song
Mhm.
at the end. But I want to make sure that we send people to wherever they can consume your music. I'm a huge fan. Actually, I
Thank you.
worked out this morning. I want to familiarize myself. Bills in Alabama, love that song.
Thank you, man.
But like way too long, dude,
Yeah.
it's in my head, and it just it has such that catchy. It's a song that needs to be heard more often. I'm going to
Thank
help do everything I can to kind of get it out there. I'm one dude, but if we can find one person that's like, oh my God, where's that? But how can we get people to learn more about you and your music and maybe even attend a show that might be coming
uh,
up?
AdamHood.com will get you anywhere you need to go. Adam Hood, like you can go to AdamHood.com and you can go to the homepage. There's like all the links to all my social media is on AdamHood.com. Our tour dates are we update them as soon as they come. That's on AdamHood.com. Ticket links. All the merchandise is on there. Again, video content, links to the DSPs, links to Spotify and iTunes. Everything is available through AdamHood.com. So I would say start there and then go wherever you choose. So,
Okay.
and that's kind of the most simple form of doing it. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing that, like, if you can remember my name, that'll get you to the website. And once you're at the website, that'll get you anywhere you want to go.
Cool. Well, we will make sure that's linked in the show notes. We'll make sure that we include a couple songs when this come, at least some clips of it, everybody. Adam, it's now time to go in what I call the lightning round,
Okay.
where I just completely go random on you. I'm going to show the
Okay.
negative hits of taking too many hits, not bong hits, but football hits in college.
All right.
Your job is to answer these questions quickly. My job is to try to get a giggle out of you.
Okay.
Okay. True or false? Your very first song you learned to play in the guitar was Gin and Juice by Snoop Dogg.
False.
Okay. True or false? I once got on a karaoke contest on a cruise ship, and the song I took me to the finals was Way Down Yonder on the Chattahoochee. It gets hotter than a hoochie coochie.
It wasn't on a cruise ship. I would say karaoke, but not cruise ships. So very, very accurate. It's false, but like sort of gray area true.
We're going true.
Okay, fine. All right.
I didn't. It's a hilarious story. I didn't know I was in a karaoke contest. I might have had a soda pop, and I went up and I was like, "Oh, I'll do something random. I'll do, Chattahoochee, way down on Chattahoochee." And we did that, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, like my friend goes, she does a song, and then next thing you know, they call our names up. I'm like, "What do they call our name up?" And like, "Oh my God, we're in the finals." And I ended up losing to like an 80-year-old who did a Sinatra song that just brought the house down.
Of course you did. That's right. That's how you get schooled, young man.
Tip my cap to him. Tip my cap.
All blue eyes. Yeah.
If you were to play any other instrument besides guitar, what would you play?
Piano.
Favorite song to play on the piano is?
Allman Brothers tunes.
Can you play Piano Man?
No, no, that's Billy Joel. It's complicated, man. Because I tried, like, I bought sheet music to learn like New York State of Mind and stuff, but like chord structure, piano chord structure is not chord structure.
Mm. If you were to go on vacation right now, just you and your wife, where are we going?
The islands,
Okay, like Caribbean?
Key West, yeah, or
Okay.
somewhere down in that area. We're gonna go. We go somewhere warm.
Okay, love that. Tell me your favorite comedy movie ever.
Life.
Okay. Um,
You know that one? Eddie Murphy and Martin. Martin, what's his name? But Martin.
Steve
Yeah,
Martin?
yeah.
Yeah. What about favorite song that's impacted your life?
Ooh, John Hyatt. There's a song he called "Stood Up" that's really been that was it. Life tends to imitate art. I feel like I learned that song young and lived it for a number of decades.
If you were to put a band together of people that are no longer here on Earth with us, who would be in the band?
I'd say Greg Allman would certainly be the keyboard player. Let's see. Oh, I mean, everybody would say that you want Bonham to play drums. I think that would probably be accurate. I mean, everybody would want Bonham to be the drummer. I don't know that Hendrix would be the guitar player because he was Little Richard's guitar player, and like Little Richard kicked him out because he was too showy. So I would do Bonham, and then let's see. I'm gonna have to come back to me on that. That's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, no, all good. If there was to be a book written about your life, tell me the title.
Bad Days Better.
Bad Days Better. That's a song, right?
Right, exactly.
Bad Days Better. Okay. Now, Adam, Bad Days Better. I can't find it on Amazon. I can't find it in Barnes Noble. I can't find it in any airport. I've tried everywhere because it's sold out and these copies are flying off the shelf. So now Netflix has found out about it and they're going to create a movie. You are now the casting director. I need to know who's going to star Adam Hood in Bad Days Better.
Bradley Cooper.
Let's go. How good was he in when he sang that song? Tell me something. What's that called? Tell me something, girl. That's
yeah. Stars Born.
Stars
Yeah.
Born. That's right. That's right. I can play that one.
Really?
Yep.
That's
Dude,
pretty
I'm gonna
awesome.
come back. I'm gonna learn how to play way too long. I might even like figure out if I get your cell, then I'll send you a clip. I'm like, bro, hopefully it's a compliment. I learned how to play way too long.
Yeah, please remember, E minor in the verse, E major in the chorus.
Okay.
That'll get
Okay.
you there.
And then last question. Tell me two words that would describe your wife.
Intelligent and stubborn.
Love it. Well, lightning round's over. I giggled more at my own jokes, but this has been an
No,
absolute blessing. Honored to talk to you. I'm so grateful that you decided to join us, and I hope that many dads and moms or grandmas, whoever else listened, took a lot from our conversation and realized the power of the mind is an untapped gift that many of us don't slow down to think about. We let life happen to us versus trying to figure out a way to impact it. I hope that we can send a lot of people your way and get people book all those shows on the current tour. I'll make sure those are linked in the show notes, but I'm so grateful for our time together today. And you got a new fan, man. I'll be spreading the gospel your way. Thank you again.
Likewise, Casey. Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have one I've done in a long time. So it means a lot. I appreciate you letting this be your platform because it's not just your average interview. I mean, this is very important stuff to talk about. And most men like you and I, we need the iron sharpening iron to sort of be men and dads and have these conversations.
Love it. Thank you, man.
Thank you, buddy.